In MLA style, when you reference another author's work, you need to use an in-text citation to give credit to the writer as well as an entry on the Works Cited page. The typical way to do this is by naming the author in parentheses at the end of the sentence and by giving the page number. If you don't credit the author or the source for anything that you're writing that didn't come out of your own mind, you're plagiarizing, and that has consequences. Most students who plagiarize do it accidentally, and this can be avoided by understanding how to cite your sources in your work. So let's figure it out. When is an in-text citation needed? You need to use an in-text citation anytime you quote from a source directly. For example, here we've used the author's exact words, so we use quotations and add an in-text citation. We also need to use an in-text citation if we're paraphrasing or summarizing a source. Even if we're not quoting directly, but we're using information that we got from the source, we need to provide that in-text citation. In this example, we're summarizing from the source and writing it in our own words, but we still need to use a citation. Typically, when we're citing sources in our work, we'll integrate the quote by providing a signal phrase to introduce the author or source. In this sentence, the writer introduces the article and mentions the author's name in the introductory phrase. Using the author's name is a great way to introduce a quote or paraphrase. Most in-text citations include two things, the author and the page number. There's a space between the author's last name and the page number, but no comma. Notice that the period goes after the parentheses. You might want to remember that the source belongs to the sentence, and you want the reader to see it as a whole. Putting the period here will help with that. If you've mentioned the author in your signal phrase, you can just use the page number. But what if your source has no author? Here's an example of a citation of an online source. In this case, a YouTube video clip with no author. Instead of the author, we give the title of the article or video in the parentheses using quotes. It should match the first part of your Works Cited entry for that source. In this case, the writer also gave video timing numbers to complete the citation. If your source has two authors, you cite them both with an "and" between. If your source has three or more authors, you cite the first author's last name followed by et al., which means "and others." If your quote extends over 4 lines of text, you need to use what's called a block quote. In MLA style, you indent the entire quotation 1/2 inch on the left, double-spaced, with no quotation marks, and include the parenthetical citation after the quotation punctuation. That's a block quotation. Proper in-text citation makes it easy for your readers to locate more information about your source. You can check all your in-text citations by seeing if they match up with the first part of your entries on your Works Cited page. The more you practice, the easier in-text citations will become. And you can always use the Writing Center in-text citation handout for help, or references like the Purdue OWL, which you can find on our website under the Resources tab, General Writing Sites. Complete the in-text citation exercise or bring your paper to the Writing Center for credit. Watch the last video in this MLA series on the Works Cited page next.